What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in as I rank all 9 of the Rob Zombie films. I'm a big Rob Zombie fan. I have followed him since he was with his original band White Zombie all the way to his debut solo album in 1998, Hellbilly Deluxe, and I've been a fan ever since. I owned all of his albums. I've went and seen him multiple times live in concert, and he always rocked the house. And just a big Rob Zombie fan. Now, as far as his movies are concerned, eh. uh, if you are a huge Rob Zombie fan who loves his movies, this may not be the best video for you to watch, but I hope you do stay tuned in because I would love to hear why you love his movies and just to kind of go back and forth. Like I said, these are just going to be my opinions, and I love to actually sit and read these comments and reminisce and talk with people about why they feel a certain way that I don't. And that's one thing I love, especially about the horror genre, is that we all can agree that the horror genre is fantastic and we all dig the movies. Some we do, some we don't. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. And coming in at number 9 for me, a film that I absolutely cannot stand, never enjoyed it, and that is The Lords of Salem. When this movie came out, I was hyped. I was like, heck yeah, we're getting a new film. I had heard some positive reactions about the cinematography in this film, and I like the lore of the Salem witch trials and stuff, and that's really what I thought it was going to be more about. But going into this film, within, I would probably say, the first 15 to 20 minutes, I realized that this was not what I was expecting. I know Rob always casts the same people, and I get it. They're his friends and they're actors that he's always enjoyed working with. But I feel like the casting was really poor in this film. None of the characters were relatable. And it's just a slow burn, a slow movie that never delivers for the finale. There's some movies that have been slow burns, but they have the payoff. I don't feel like this movie had any payoff whatsoever. And I'm not a hater on Sherry Moon Zombie. I know so many people are, but her character, her being the main character, was just so dull and so boring. And just overall, the look of the film I found was unique. I do feel like there were some scenes that were shot that made this movie feel like a big budget Hollywood film. But my biggest problem with this is there's just so much blasphemy in this film. And if you follow my channel, you know where I stand as far as being a Christian man and stuff. And I know that that's not for everyone. I get it. But, Rob's never really voiced his political views. He's never really voiced his religious views. I mean, I know he's talked about it a little bit, but I do feel like in his movies, he has been expressing his views, which is his right. And, I don't have to like it, but it's just, this movie to me was just so weird and boring. And I really was picturing this to be more about the witch trials and stuff, and it just didn't deliver. And the sad part is it had some amazing actors and actresses in this film, but like I said, there was just no payoff with anyone. And overall, it's just a slow movie, a slow paced movie, and I really can't say anything that I really enjoyed except for maybe a couple of the cinematography, some of the backgrounds that were shot. But other than that, yeah, this is just a really big disappointment of a film for me. Okay, coming in at number 8 is The Haunted World of El Super Bisto. This is just a horror comedy raunchy cartoon that Rob Zombie, of course, wrote and directed. And I do find humor in some of it, especially just the character cameos. Like we got Spalding in there, and then they throw Otis Driftwood. Man, really, there's not a whole lot to say about the film except that if you like the raunchy style, cartoonish, uh, animated films, I think this would be right up your alley. But I know I've seen some rankings where they don't include this film, but hey, it is a Rob Zombie film. But I had fun with it a little bit. I mean, there were some parts that made me chuckle in it, but overall, I can take it or leave it. It's not one of the films that really I put in and watch. I think I've watched this movie maybe twice, but like I said, overall, it's one of the films that if you're taking it seriously, then you're watching the wrong movie. I feel like this was just Rob just kind of throwing it out there and having a good time with it. So, I mean, it's not a terrible movie, but it is what it is. Okay, coming in at number 7, in my opinion, this is the Halloween resurrection of the Firefly trilogy, and that is Three from Hell. I don't know what Rob Zombie was thinking when he made this film. I don't know if he was just running out of ideas. Clearly, I feel like the movie never delivers the impact that the first two films made. And the reason I call this the Halloween resurrection of the trilogy is because this ruined the best ending in any movie, and that was The Devil's Rejects. But this movie kicks off the same day that The Devil's Rejects left us from, to where Captain Spaulding, Otis, and Baby are all shot up in their vehicle. And the first thing that really captured my attention was, now these three psychopaths who did all these murders, this is the 70s. I'm pretty sure they could care less if they tried to save their lives or not. And then they had like 1 in a million chance to survive. To me, it was just too unbelievable. And I get to where like Rob did the Free the Three and all that stuff. I get that because that was like the Charles Manson stuff. But man, this film was so unnecessary. And once again, this is going to be a running thing for me. Rob Zombie can write for the villains. He cannot write for the heroes. I'm going to say this once, and this may get me some heat. Rob Zombie's a good director, but I feel he's a terrible writer. I feel like he needs to get a writer to help him come up with a script. Let Rob tell his ideas, but let somebody else write it, because Rob Zombie bases his films around white trash people that speak the most vulgar language, and that's just a throw off to me. Some people it doesn't bother, and that's fine. But this movie was so unnecessary. I don't know if it was a cash grab or if Rob was just bored and wanted to come up with something, but what really hurts this film is the lack of Spaulding. And I get it. Sid Haig was dying. And I had actually met Sid Haig before they started making this film. I met him, I guess, about 4 or 5 times, but it was the year before they started filming, and I had met him again. This was the last time I'd ever see him. And he was so thin and fragile. And then, like I said, I heard that he was going to be doing Three from Hell. But even then, when I met him, I was like, how are they going to explain how Spaulding looks like he does? And, after watching the film, he had his final role. And, I mean, yes, the scene was okay. But, I've seen where Rob has talked about how he had to rewrite the script and make changes. To me, if your leading guy cannot be in it, scrap the whole idea. Because one thing I cannot stand in any franchises, especially horror, is when they throw in a relative that we have never heard of, and all of a sudden here it is, the third movie, and they just throw them in. And that's Richard Drake's character. He brought nothing to the film. He was literally just another Otis. And now Bill Moseley did a great job as Otis. I mean, he slid right back in that character. Sherry Moon, I cannot stand her in this movie. I cannot stand the baby character, because it always seems like Rob has to make her, in any movie she makes, the tough one, the survivor. Dee Wallace is in this movie, and I feel that, he writes her the most vulgar, nasty lines and makes her character disgusting. and it brings nothing to the film at all whatsoever. And I don't know. Overall, it didn't capture the imagination and the excitement and the horror aspect as the first two did. One of my biggest things that, I mean, as soon as it happened, I was like, yeah, I'm done, is when they brought Danny Trejo's character back. I think his name was Rondo. He was a big part in Devil's Rejects to me that I was like, oh, he's a cool bounty hunter. Well, in this one, he don't even remember Otis Driftwood, which makes no sense at all because him and his buddy, I can't remember the character's name, but it was Diamond Dallas Page in Devil's Rejects, which it wasn't, if you watch the timeline, it wasn't that long ago, is the ones that went and captured him, and he didn't even remember him, and Rob literally brought him on screen just to let Otis get his revenge. That was stupid. Waste of a character. He made Rondo go out like a punk, and I didn't like that. And one of my main complaints about this film is the third act is completely dumb. It does not fit the first two acts. I get it, them going to Mexico is fine, but to have a machete fight with these Mexican gangsters wearing luchador masks and stuff, I'm just like, where are we? Like, what is going on? But overall, this was a film that was unnecessary. I feel like it tarnished the ending of Devil's Rejects, and I never put this on because, like I said, it was a good one-timer for me, and I was like, eh. Okay, coming in at number 6 is Halloween 2. The first time I had seen Rob Zombie's Halloween, the 2007 remake, I liked the film. There were some things that I didn't care for, but I'll get into that eventually. But I thought once the ending happened on the first one, I was like, hey, that was cool. He made a film. He paid homage to an original classic. I thought that was awesome. And then I hear about part 2 coming. I'm like, okay, let's see what we got going on. And I watched the trailer, and the trailer looked good until I seen that Rob brought Sherry Moon back in this film. To me, this was the cheapest and idiotic way that Rob was able to get his wife a leading role. First off, the fact that he sees his dead mother, that didn't make no sense whatsoever. Don't give me the crap about the white horse. The thing is in the original, I was going to say the original, in the first Halloween Rob Zombie made, her character was caring. She loved her kids. Yes, she was a stripper and she had an abusive either boyfriend or husband. I don't know what he was. But there would be no reason for him to see her ghost come back and want him to kill and hurt people. It just didn't make no sense. All it was a way for him to write her into the movie. That was so dumb. To me, it was almost like a ripoff of Friday the 13th. It's just my opinion. The film started off strong with the Halloween 2 callback as far as taking place in the hospital. When that happened, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like him chasing Laurie Strode and, Danielle Harris' character, Annie, she's still in the hospital from the first one, from the abuse that she took in the first one. I thought that whole sequence, opening sequence, was amazing. I loved the look of Michael when he's out in the rain and he's chopping down that security guard shack to get to Laurie. And then they pull the wool out from underneath this and boom, it's a dream. Did not care for that whatsoever. I was like, man, I really thought he was just going to go balls to the wall with that. But after that, I feel like this film just went downhill. I will say on some of the positives, I love Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. I love his look in this, the hobo look. I love that when he's ready to kill, then he puts the mask on. He's just not walking around 365 days a year with a mask on. I love the hood. I love the fact that Brad Dourif is one of the leading roles in this film. I feel like Brad Dourif never gets the appreciation as an actor that he should get. He's always just known for Chucky. This film right here, I feel like he carried it. He carried every scene, his emotions, especially the scene where he finds Annie dying. Well, actually, I think she was dead at the time he found her. Emotional. Like, I remember watching it and actually having a tear come down. And this is from a Rob Zombie movie, a horror movie, making me shed a tear. Other than that, I will say that once again, the writing is absolutely garbage. Um, the beginning where Richard Brake's character, again, he's an ambulance driver. These two ambulance guys are driving and they're talking about um, having sex with a dead body and all this, telling these nasty jokes. And I'm like, if Rob really knows people that talk and act like this, he's got some weird people around him. And the stuff that just goes on in Rob's mind, that just kind of, I mean, no judgment, but his writing, once again, is atrocious. It's too vulgar. I feel like he does it just for shock value. He ruined Dr. Loomis in this movie. To have Dr. Loomis, one of the most beloved characters in the Halloween franchise, he was Malcolm McDowell portrayed him so good in Halloween 2007, and then you make him a prick in this movie where he's only about money, selling books. Stupid call. Don't understand that. And then Scout Taylor Compton, she is a phenomenal actress and a sweetheart of a woman. And she does a great Laurie Strode in the first one. And in this one, you make her absolutely unsufferable. You make her so annoying. And I get it. And everybody's like, well, if you were chased by a family member and you saw your friends get slaughtered, I'm just saying. Like, something to me that stands out that as soon as I seen it, I was like, she's living with Annie and her dad, Sheriff Brackett. And in her room, she has a picture of Charles Manson and she spray paints "In Charlie We Trust." Who's going to let somebody move into their house and spray paint on their walls? Then you go in the bathroom. It looks like a meth head's bathroom. It's got 666 written on there, just spray paint everywhere. That's where I'm like, okay, Rob, dude, you lose me, man. Because it's not because it's dealing with the devil or nothing. It's just a simple fact that every person he writes for makes it trashy. I mean, I just don't get it. But I'll sum it up this way. I remember walking out of the theater with my brother. We were so hyped for this movie, and then we didn't say a word after it was over. We're walking into the theater. We get in the vehicle, and my brother just looks over at me and goes, "What the hell did we just watch?" Yeah, I just feel like this movie was a fu to the original Halloween fans. I feel like there was choices that Rob made in this movie just because he didn't want to do the sequel, and he's come out and said that he was supposed to do a 3 film project. But yeah, I just feel like he didn't do the Halloween franchise justice. And something noticeable is he didn't even use any of the Halloween themes in this movie until the ending credits. So, but yeah, that's my opinion on Halloween 2. Okay, coming in at number 5 is one of the most frustrating films that Rob Zombie has released, and it's not because it's not good, but it's 31. And the reason why this is coming in at this number is strictly because the concept was so cool. I was super hyped for this movie, and it just failed on so many levels. It's to the point where this was like, okay, I love the concept of these rich people kidnapping these carnies and making them, go against the villains, and they had to survive. And it's almost like the American Squid Game. I just thought of that. I mean, almost it's like a Squid Game thing, except they're not fighting for money. Going ahead and pointing this out, to have Sherry Moon be the final survivor is such BS. I feel like Jeff Daniel Phillips' character was the standout performance. I feel like he was the one, at least should have made it to the end with Sherry Moon's character. But for him to put the spotlight on her again and make her the final survivor and to go against Richard Drake's character, I just feel like was a waste. Having said that, Richard Drake's character was phenomenal. He was so creepy. His presence when he was on camera was messed up, man. I mean, it really made you feel uncomfortable. And when I first seen it, I thought he had clown makeup on. But to know that he just put the white powder on, and then he would hit himself to make his nose busted, and then made it look like it was clown makeup. I love the scene where he's like, "I'm not crazy. I'm in control. I'm not crazy. I mean, that was great." But then there's scenes that, again, Rob Zombie has I don't know if he gets off on it, but he freaking sticks a nasty sexual scene with Ginger Lynn and Richard Brake, sorry. And it's just an unnecessary scene, completely unnecessary. You could have filled that spot in with something cooler than that. Overall, I just feel like the film didn't deliver on what it could have been. And I do notice that, like, the most atrocious dialogue is when the two clowns are in there. I can't remember their names. I know one was Psycho Head and Doom Head or something, but stupidest names. But you could have really played off of the fear because so many people have a phobia of clowns. And when it comes to their scene, it's absolutely trashy, nasty, just everything about it. And it's one of them films that, like I said, I thought the concept was cool. I was ready to watch this film, and then once the film was over, I was just like, Rob Zombie knows how to write one way, and he sticks to that way. But hey, it's working for him. But yeah, this movie had so much potential. It could have been something. It could have been Rob Zombie's best movie. All right, let's see how much hate I get on this one, because coming in at number 4 is The Munsters. I know this is not Rob Zombie's best work, but I am a huge fan of the original Munsters. And like many of you, when I heard that Rob Zombie was fixing to do a Munsters film, I automatically was like, "Oh, here we go. He's gonna make it rated R. He's gonna make it white trashy." And to my surprise, it wasn't. And I remember watching the first trailer for it, and I was like, "This looks like the cheesiest and corniest crap." I'm in. uh, Me, my wife, and my kids sat down and watched it. My kids loved it. Um, I will actually say Sherry Moon's portrayal as Lily was good. I enjoyed it. I thought she did a great job. She really captured the sitcom, corny goofiness that Lily portrayed, almost like a Broadway actress. I thought she fit the role good. I thought she did a phenomenal job. Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman Munster, he got the laugh down. The voice, not so much. I do wish he would have tried to at least get close enough to the original Fred Gwynn's voice as Herman Munster. But, I mean, it didn't take it away to where it's so distracting I didn't like it. But he really did at least portray the lovable, goofy Herman Munster that we all love. But the standout performance has to go to Daniel Roebuck as Grandpa. He captured everything the original Grandpa had: the movements, the voice, the silliness, everything. He was definitely the show stealer. Every scene he was in, man, he just made it his own. So happy for that casting. That was wonderful. And I do like how we get the backstory of how they met, and, all the way down to the details of where Igor the Bat was his butler and how he became the Bat. I mean, just little details. You could tell that Rob Zombie is a real big fan of the original Munsters movie. And I know he wanted to make this film black and white, and they said absolutely not. They wanted it in color, so he really made it in color, and I like it. Like, it looks like a comic book come to life. I love the usage of the bright greens, red, purple, blue, all this. I thought it looked great, and overall, it is a corny movie. It is a cheesy movie. It is goofy, but it works. And it's not one that I watch a lot. Don't get me wrong. And it's not Rob Zombie's best work, but I do feel like so many people hate on this movie and not really looking at the appreciation and not really looking at the tribute he wanted to make to the original Munsters. And I like the fact that it ends where you could almost go right into the sitcom. And I'm not gonna lie, I would actually like to see a sequel to this, but I doubt that ever happens. But yeah, overall, I feel like it is a fun family movie. So, but I enjoy it. Okay, coming in at number 3 is The Devil's Rejects. This is without a doubt Rob Zombie's most popular film he's made. I love that it's based in the 70s. I like the look of the film, how it looks like an old Western, in my opinion. I'm glad that he didn't redo everything like he did in House of a Thousand Corpses, because that made that film stand alone. But the casting was really good in this film. I think this is Sherry Moon's best acting performance, not just as Baby, but overall. I think she does a phenomenal job. I love that William Forsythe is Sheriff Wydell. He steals the show. Every scene he's in, he makes count. He's just an old school actor. And I love that his portrayal of Sheriff Wydell is for revenge. But toward the end, he's still a lawman. So toward the end, you kind of go, well, you're crossing that line to justice and for revenge. He almost becomes just as sick and twisted as the Firefly family. Of course, Bill Moseley does a great job as Otis, and finally we get more footage and more screen time from Captain Spaulding. I think this is Sid Haig's best performance as far as Captain Spaulding. We find out that he's actually the father of Baby. So there's a story. We don't have the backstory, but there's a story that kind of was like, oh, okay, that's where he plays into this. I finally feel like Rob Zombie sat down and actually wrote good for the actual civilians, the heroes, whatever you want to call them. It wasn't just for the Firefly family. And I love that we get to see Tiny. I know that he's only in the beginning and the end, but for Tiny to come in at the end to save the day and grab Sheriff Wydell while Wydell is literally choking Baby to death. I remember watching that with my wife the first time, and he's literally got Baby down, he's choking her, and all of a sudden it's slow motion. You just see Tiny come up and grab him, and I forgot all about Tiny. And I was like, oh, Tiny, that's it. And then he and just throws his body down. I thought that was shot really well, and I thought that was really cool. Like I said, overall, I know this is his most popular film, but having said that, going to the negatives, it's once again, it's only written the way Rob Zombie can write. Way too much vulgar language for me. Deals with a lot of sexuality that makes you feel uncomfortable, which I get. That's what he was going for. But the thing that absolutely makes me pretty much not watch this film is where Bill Moseley, aka Otis Driftwood, is taking the two guys out to get the guns, and he starts mocking the Holy Spirit, talking about God coming down and getting them. Like I said, that's where Rob throws that religious stuff in there that I'm just like, you done lost me. And it's got one of the best endings to, like I said, any horror movie. The big shootout. Really enjoy it. But yeah, this is Rob Zombie's, like I said, this is his best shot movie. This is his best written movie to a lot of fans. But yeah, overall, I think he finally, in this film, captured everybody's attention with each character. Like, he gave every character a purpose, and I thought that was really done really well. Okay, coming in at number 2 is Rob Zombie's 2007 remake, Halloween. First and foremost, I got to say the casting for Tyler Mane to be Michael Myers was fantastic. Tyler Mane made Michael Myers scary again. The look is phenomenal. I love the fact that we see where he gets his coveralls when he's fighting Joe Grizzly in the bathroom. Everything about Tyler Mane's portrayal, I really dig. I really like it. I do enjoy Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis. I was kind of worried because, there's only one Donald Pleasance, but I like the fact that Malcolm McDowell said that he knew Donald Pleasance, but he didn't go back and watched how he portrayed Dr. Loomis because he wanted to do his own. And I thought he did a fantastic job. I like that Danielle Harris is back in it. She's portraying Annie, and Scout Taylor Compton, she's, of course, Laurie Strode. We got Dee Wallace as her mother. And overall, the film, I do enjoy the film. But here's the big issue is that I have to skip the first 15 to 20 minutes of this movie every time I watch it. Because as soon as I went to the theaters and watched this, it kicks off with Kiss, man. The down, 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 down. I mean, like it's rocking and rolling, and already it goes into the most vulgar, I would say, 5 to 10 minute scene with William Forsythe just degrading Sherry Moon Zombie, degrading the kids, and I'm just like, oh, please don't do this through the whole movie, man. Please don't do this. And like I said, it's some of the most vulgar dialogue that I don't even. How anybody enjoyed watching that, I don't get it. And like I said, every time I watch this film, I skip that entire part. I did like Dave Furch portraying Little Michael. I did. I like that. But I don't feel like we needed so much backstory because, once again, the mystique about Michael is you don't know why he turned evil, why he did what he did. Where this one, I feel like Rob was giving us answers to questions nobody was asking. Why make Deborah Myers, which is Michael's mother, why make her a stripper? It's almost like Rob's like, man, I write one way, we're gonna make her a stripper, we're gonna make the daughter, um, sexually active, and then we're gonna make the boyfriend, the stepdad, whatever, flirting with the daughter and being vulgar toward uh, Deborah Myers and mistreating the boy. It's just like we don't need all that. And I enjoyed the part where we see Michael finally like snapping on Halloween night. That part I enjoy. That's where I always start the film, right there as I watch that from that point on. But like, and I like the scenes where Malcolm McDowell and Dave Furch are talking, and they're in the um, Haddonfield Asylum or whatever you want to call it. I like all that to where you can see that Michael is not. He slowly is, I would say, shutting down and not talking anymore. I do like some of that stuff, but once again, it's to the point where I just don't like the fact that, just because he got picked on and um, he come from this family, that now he's a killer. That kind of made you lose the mystique. But I will say, like when Michael escapes from Smith's Grove, that's what it is. I'm sorry, Smith's Groves. I do like the escape. How Bill Moseley and Leslie Easterbrook and Tom Toll's all kind of making an appearance. I like that, and I like how Danny Trejo's character looked out for Michael because that was a sad death scene. Uh, but I mean, overall, I do enjoy this film, and like I said, I feel Scout Taylor Compton did a great job as Laurie, and I would say the second and third act is pretty much just a tribute to the original Halloween, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, I like this movie. I like the look of Michael. I like the Halloween atmosphere in this movie, and yeah, this is one of the films that I do occasionally watch. Like I got to at least watch it normally once a year around Halloween. Because alrighty, so coming in at number one, my favorite Rob Zombie movie is House of a Thousand Corpses. I remember when this film came out in 2003. Me and my wife had just got married, and we were living in St. Louis. And I remember we went to like two different blockbusters, went to movie galleries, trying to find. That's a callback to all my 80s and 90s guys and gals. Trying to find this movie, and we finally ended up finding it. And we went home and we started watching it. And I'll never forget, right after the credits was rolling at the beginning, and it went straight into the Captain Spaulding scene. My mother-in-law and it was my mother-in-law's husband at the time. He leaned over and looked at us. He goes, "What are we watching?" And we just chuckled. Me and my wife did. But I really love the look of this film because it feels like a rock and roll video. I love the lighting in this. I love that it feels like a demented Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. This is the film that we get introduced to the Firefly clan. I like that Spaulding has his own little gas station, and you don't really know where he fits in as far as with the Firefly family. And you find out, of course, like I said, on Devil's Rejects. But this is just a unique, different film that I really dig. I know when it first came out, There was a lot of people that didn't care for it, and now it's kind of became a cult classic. But I have always enjoyed the film. I like Otis Driftwood. I like Baby in this film. I thought the casting was good. We actually have Dwight Schrute from The Office. He played in it as Fish Boy. And I really like Bill Moseley's portrayal. This is his first portrayal as Otis. He was different in this film than he was in Devil's Rejects. I think I like this version a little bit better. But my favorite scene in this movie is where Otis kills the old man. He's got the cowboy hat with the rattlesnake on the front of it. And then the deputy turns around. Otis tells him to get down. And as he's got the gun to the deputy's head, the camera just slowly pans back. And I remember watching this and I was like, come on. Come on. And then pow. And then, I thought that was a unique scene. I really enjoyed that. Then my problem with the film, and it's not really a problem that knocks it down because this is my number one, is the third act doesn't fit with the first and second act. The first and second act feel like an actual legit horror film as far as realism and being realistic. And then I remember when they start lowering the two survivors down into the hole in the casket, and then you see this whole little other area down under the ground with Dr. Satan thing. That's where I was like, cool concept. Just didn't fit with the first and second act. I was like, who is this? Because Dr. Satan looked freaking awesome. And then the guy comes out with the goggles and I don't know what he's got on his face. But like I said, that's where I was like, feels like I'm in a whole nother movie now. But as far as the negatives, I'm always just going to say the language of the Rob Zombie's movies. But yeah, this is one that I do still enjoy watching. It feels like a grindhouse film, and I think that's what I like about it most. So, well, all right, that was my ranking of the Rob Zombie films. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and also please leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know your ranking. Let me know if you agree, you disagree with my ranking, and if you can't get enough of film reviews, I would like to please ask that you go to Small Town Cinema on YouTube or Small Town Cinema on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Amazon Music, any podcast platform. Me and my buddy, we review movies of all genre, and we really are needing some more followers on our YouTube channel. And we put out a video every week, every couple of weeks. But I know we're going to be putting out Scream 1996, and then we're going to do Scream 7 whenever it comes out. I think it's in a week or two. So if you are enjoying, like I said, my channel, I would like to ask if you wouldn't mind, tell your friends and family to subscribe here and then to go over and give us a follow on Small Town Cinema. But as always, I just want to say God bless each and every one of you, and I will see you next time.